It's sugar, it's energy. And if you get some, you're going to want to get more and more and more of it. In a capitalistic model, you want hyper users, which means you have to make a delicious product that feels good. Everyone has the right to make that decision. Just be prepared for what will happen to you.
Welcome to AI Truth Serum, your weekly antidote to the hype and doom of AI. I'm your host, Greg Shove, seven-time Silicon Valley founder, CEO, and the CEO of Section AI, which is an AI company. Today, our first episode, our inaugural episode of AI Truth Serum, we have a heavy topic. Are we going to lose our minds to AI? Cognitive offloading is the biggest bogeyman in AI right now, with good reason. It took us 20 years to realize the negative impacts of social media until we finally woke up and tried to do something about it. And still, we're not doing much about it. MIT says ChatGPT power users have decreased brainwave activity and are showing signs of AI dependence. So can we use AI? Can we outsource cognitive tasks to AI without losing our minds? So to help me answer this question, I'm joined by a close friend and really smart person, Dr. Sahar Yousef, a cognitive neuroscientist, lecturer at UC Berkeley Haas School of Business, and she also runs the Becoming Superhuman Lab and is one of the world's leading experts on cognitive training and the science of productivity. She's given over 800 keynotes. She's trained tens of thousands of people to harness their cognitive abilities. And she's going to help us dive into the pros and cons of using AI to extend our brains. How much is too much? And how do we be smart about our own AI usage? Sahar is here to help us answer these questions. Welcome, Sahar.
Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, give us an update on Becoming Superhuman, the lab you run, and sort of what you've learned the last few years trying to help people manage digital distractions and kind of get control of their cognitive power.
The name of the game for the first steps in, as we say colloquially, becoming superhuman has always been about removing drains on our cognitive capacity. So that's the general ethos of all of our research, and the culmination of years and years of research is that the ways in which we are working and living today are fundamentally misaligned with the ways in which our brains and our bodies actually work. The brain is a focus machine. And then you've got people sitting there with Apple Watch, phone out, face up, all the notifications on. You've got two different monitors. You've Slack open off to the side, constantly pinging you. And then we're expecting people to think clearly and actually efficiently be productive. It's just not, the brain doesn't work that way. And it's like, yeah, okay, look at your team. Look at your company. How are you running it?
And so what you've been doing until now is basically helping people manage their distractions. Is that sort of the simple unlock to getting better cognitive performance? For the last 10 years, that's been the game.
The easiest first steps to becoming superhuman is managing distractions, managing cognitive overload, and actually bringing focus to our day, and also becoming aware of our priorities. Just understanding how the brain works and saying, fine, I get it, I accept it, and then working in line with it.
And so what's the hardest thing about doing that people struggle with in terms of managing focus?
Honestly, it feels the biggest struggle is perceived social expectations. People will make up stories in their heads about how it is expected that they react and respond and send an emoji within, 3.5 seconds of someone saying some bullshit on Slack. And it's like, oh, no, I have to. Otherwise, I don't seem like a team player. But if you actually go and ask supervisors, you actually ask managers and leaders, what do you end up caring about? What's going to get these people promoted? It's not that. So it's this perception of social expectations, I feel, is like, it's the emotions, it's feelings. Feelings are the things that get in the way. It's people like, oh, I could, but I'm going to seem like, an unresponsive ass, and it might not seem like I'm working.
So we get stuff done by managing our cognitive bandwidth. Now let's kind of fast forward to today, meaning generative AI comes along. This would seem like the silver bullet or the great unlock for the brain, right? I describe AI as an ability to borrow 30 points of IQ. And we've been told that, artificial general intelligence or SSI, whatever you want to call it, is coming. And these superhuman capabilities, cognitive capabilities, are going to be added to us for $20 a month, or in some cases for free, right? So this would seem like, for you, someone running a superhuman lab, this would seem like a huge unlock. You must be really excited about AI. What do you think? Like, is this the way we all cognitively enhance ourselves?
No, it's definitely not going to be the way we cognitively enhance ourselves. I think that there are some positives in the amount of production that we could utilize AI for, but it most definitely will not be the way in which we enhance ourselves, so to speak. You can kind of liken it to using the elevator, right? Back in the day, if you wanted to build a tall building, you got to take the stairs, right? It takes time to go up and go down. Now we've got an elevator. So you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Now all these humans are going to be able to go up and down seamlessly, quickly, efficiently. That might be the case, but if they're not moving, what does it mean about the human? It means that the human is actually going to experience a lot of negative side effects of the lack of movement, the lack of actually utilizing our muscles. So the human is not getting better. It's not a huge unlock to our cognitive abilities. In fact, probably if you want to actually liken this to muscle, you're losing IQ points. Your output might be fine, right? You're getting up the stairs super fast, but this whole concept of you are borrowing IQ points. How about that, Greg? Maybe I do kind of agree with you. You're borrowing them, but they're not yours. You got to give those back. And when you give them back, you have less than what you started with because you're not using the muscle.
Is that what's happening? Or like, we're 3 years in. What's the research say so far? It's early, but what's the research say?
Listen, the first round of data do show we're going to see huge increases in productivity, and we're going to continue to see them. Pretty much any company that adopts AI and does not hesitate in its adoption of AI, training their workforce in the usage of AI, they're seeing gains. You can't argue with that. So I wouldn't call it a silver bullet. It's maybe a bullet. It's a silver bullet with like twingly things hanging off the side. It's got collateral, like one of those hunting bullets that has a lot of shrapnel or something. Some of the recent data, and I know there were a lot of headlines around that MIT study that tracked 54 students, and they were writing essays over 4 months of time. And they found that those who were using ChatGPT exclusively, and this is where a lot of the headlines got it wrong. They were like, you use AI, you're getting dumber, and your brain is devolving. And it's like, no. If you are using AI exclusively, we can define that as like full cognitive offloading. They showed decreased neural connectivity, weaker neural connectivity, and also maybe perhaps more importantly from a learning perspective, lower memory retention. So 83% of them actually couldn't recall key points from their own essays, which is pretty embarrassing. That is where I see a lot of the worry, and it's worry that's grounded in the data, that we need to be leaned in to the things that you want to learn about, the things that you want mastery on, and don't completely offload.
I'm going to be screwed because I'll be dumber, because I will not have been using my own brain. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying. I think the easiest way for us to think about this at this point in time is to really think about the brain like a muscle. And I know that's an old school analogy, but it has legs for a reason, right? It's useful to think about it that way. So the same way that you might think about our physical skills, for example, if I pretty much drive in my car, I get to a building and I'm constantly using the elevator up and down, how do we compensate that as a society typically?
Oh, we go to the gym. We're supposed to go to the gym, right? The bottom line is we invented gyms, right? To help people stay fit because their work no longer kept them fit.
Exactly. Like something's got to give. If you want a body that has strength, then you must put in the effort, experience the friction, experience the difficulty, carry the load that is demanded in order to get this product that you seek, which is a healthy, strong body. Mm-hmm. If you want intelligence, you want to be a smart person, that also requires work. Believe it or not, we are not born with, amazing critical thinking skills. And I think that's actually something that we as a society, one, do not talk about, and two, probably need to start talking about with the advent of AI and how we're currently using it. I think that's going to be the big message from folks like myself to the world is, hey, wake up call. We're not born with critical thinking skills. Our precious babies do not come with the ability to reason and analyze and debate. We teach people these skills at home, in school, at work. These are hard-earned muscles, brain muscles. And if you stop using them, they will go away like all of our other muscles.
So, but we're being told, and I tell everyone who works with me, you've got to use AI every day. And if you don't, the person next to you will, and they're going to get a productivity advantage. So we seem to be in a little bit of an arms race individually, and our organizations are, to enhance ourselves with AI. But you're saying that's just not going to end well.
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and we've been observing a lot of folks in lab. I've been observing students, talking to students about this, Greg. And listen, this is an active thing, right? We're all figuring this out together, and everything is changing week to week, month to month. My current thinking is don't use AI for the messy middle. Use it for the easy stuff. Literally just delegate all of the useless like the stuff that is just beneath you to do, that is going to unlock time. What is that time for? It's for you to do the hard shit. It's for you to actually do the really heavy cognitive load, the critical thinking stuff that's actually going to take strategy and creativity. And I also think that you should be using AI for the really complicated stuff. So let's say, for example, you're a marketing expert, if you're a scientist, like someone like myself. I already have a great deal of mastery. So I've got a lot of muscle in my department. I'm a master of my tiny little molehill. So I know what I'm talking about. I know how to critically think in that space. If I use AI can go toe to toe with me. And it's like the colleague of my dreams, right? Don't tell my husband because he's technically also my colleague. but AI can be literally the thought partner, right, of your dreams. And it's awesome. But don't use it for the stuff in the middle, so that you at least have half of your day, a third of your day where you're like, I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I wonder if social media is a little bit of a guide here as well, meaning an hour a day on Instagram or TikTok or whatever would have been fine, would have been okay, right? I would imagine. But it's the fact that it became 2 or 3 hours a day or more for a lot of kids that just jumped that boundary from being something that was manageable and not brain rot to something that really led to all these negative consequences. Is that how you think about social media in terms of its impact? That a little bit of it would have been okay, and maybe not even negative, but too much of it is where we sort of ran into trouble?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. It's not just about time, though. I think it's about what it's replacing. So, and I'll actually, this is an interesting point you're making here, Greg, because it allows us to also talk about the nuances in the data and in the research as it relates to social media use and screen time for teenagers. By the way, a lot of misunderstanding where a lot of parents, schools, policymakers, honestly, as sad as it is, actually a lot of researchers will misunderstand and misquote studies. And they'll say, oh, it's the number of hours that my kid is playing video games and blah, 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 bad things are happening. It's the number of hours they're spending on social media. It's the number of hours they're spending on their phones or on their screens. It's not. If you actually look into the data, you actually are brave enough to look at all of the studies, not just the ones in your information vacuum. It's so much more nuanced than that. You can have a kid that's spending 10 hours on social media, but they're happy, healthy, not lonely. They have a budding social, all this stuff. And then you see a kid that's spending 3 hours on social media. They're depressed, they're anxious, they're super lonely and disconnected. It's not about the number of hours or how much you're using it necessarily. It's about what you're replacing it with. So if you are completely replacing real social connection with social media use, then yeah, you're going to get real weird in real life real fast. And you're going to feel lonely and disconnected because it's not real. It's not real. If you have a meaningful, connected in real life, an IRL social life, and you're also you love watching the puppy videos and the other random things, and you're sending your friends funny DMs or whatever it may be, then phenomenal. Plus, plus, plus. If you want to use AI, great, but don't replace all your actual cognition with it.
Yeah. So let's bring this to AI. So what you're saying is basically don't replace all your thinking with AI, but you're asking me to do something I think pretty hard, which is find the right balance, keep working the messy middle with my own brain, use it as a thought partner, the outsource, the drudge work. It just feels like the average person is going to be like, fuck it. I'm just going to outsource everything to AI because my coworker is, and I need to get ahead and I don't want to get laid off. And by the way, these tech companies want to get us addicted, right? I find these AIs so good at like making us feel good and offering to do the next step in the work, right? Like, hey, do you want me to make a PDF for you? Can I explore this further? Every time AI says, can I do this extra step? I'm like, shit, yes, do it, right? Like, isn't this what's going to happen? We're all going to get addicted to it.
Honestly, the way it's going now, I'd say we're at a risk of that. Yeah. I think it's very tempting. I know you've heard Lucas mention this quote, and this is a quote from the great Daniel Kahneman, who was also a Berkeley professor. So go Bears. But Dan Kahneman has this awesome quote where he says, thinking is to humans as swimming is to cats. They can do it. I don't like it.
Right.
And yeah, right. Greg, you're even admitting here, there is a natural tendency to want to offload. We want to choose ease as human beings, and that's evolutionary for a good reason, right? We want to be able to save our precious limited resources for the stuff that matters. And if it's not abundantly clear what in fact matters, then we get an opportunity to say, hey, spend less. Absolutely, we're going to take it. We're going to be upsold that. And the way AI companies are designing these tools is based on human society itself, right? We have fed it ourselves, which means they are by design people pleasing. We're going to like it, and we're going to want to keep using it, and we're going to want to overuse it. And I consider that it's just like candy. It's sugar, right? Sugar tastes delicious. It does, for good reason, because it's highly caloric, it's energy. And if you get some, you're going to want to get more and more and more of it. It's up to us. We've all created these systems. Every household has their own weird system. Every person has their own weird system. It's like, okay, I'm going to have a, dessert after dinner tonight, but maybe tomorrow night I'll skip it. It's like, okay, well now I won't, I'm keeping track of how much sugar I am taking in. And listen, if you want to say, oh, I don't give a shit, it's delicious, I'm just going to use the AI because the AI is smarter than me anyway. What's the point? That's fine. I think it's everyone has the right to make that decision. Just be prepared for what will happen to you. Don't be upset if 5-10 years down the line, the Wi-Fi goes out and you can't seem to make any decisions for yourself anymore. And you're just left confused and scared, and we lose cognitive agency. That's my fear.
And we lose it to a bunch of tech companies who basically want to profit maximize. This is the dystopian version, right? They want to profit maximize. They want to influence us. There's a small number of companies that are basically winning in AI. And you could argue that in 10 years, it'll only be 2 or 3 sort of leading AI models or AI companies. That's the dystopian version, right? That we've lost our minds to big tech, to a bunch of dudes in Silicon Valley. And that, you think that's a real possibility?
I do. And I would say I'd be less concerned if we lived in a phenomenal utopia where all of our governments were honest and our news made sense and was honest and truthful. But at present, I don't think we are. So I think if you have the loss of cognitive agency, if you are robbing the general public of their ability to think critically, to receive data and information and go, let me think about this. Does this challenge my beliefs? Do I believe this? Does this comport with the other pieces of information I've been fed and that I have? Does this make sense to me? If we're robbing people of that kind of critical thinking, if we're robbing people of cognitive agency, then we just become a really amazing sheeple that can be so easily controlled en masse. And I'm pretty sure you can use your imagination or some of the books behind either one of us in these shelves if you've got some George Orwell hanging around back there. But
sheeple, I like that. We don't want to become sheeple. So that's a good rallying cry. Who wants to be a sheeple? So let's play the bull case, not the bear case. Here's the good version, maybe. How about this, Sahar? First of all, how about if there was an AI that was the source of truth? And I do wonder if this is, frankly, a good differentiation or positioning for one of these companies. Wouldn't it be great if AI actually was truthful, unlike most of media today? So if we had AI that was truthful and we knew it to be the source of truth, I think that'd be a good thing, right? What about the fact that if we learn how to talk to AI, Because to talk to AI today, you need to have context. You need to have a conversation, actually. You don't shout at someone. You don't shout at your AI. You actually have a conversation with your AI to get the most out of it. Nuance and context and facts matter when you work with AI. Maybe that actually translates to our real life. Maybe in IRL, we'll be better in 10 years because AI actually taught us to have conversations again versus just kind of shout at the enemy. So, maybe AI does offload some of that drudge work and those menial cognitive tasks, freeing up cognitive energy, to your point, from sort of kind of better pursuits or more higher value pursuits. Is this not possible?
I think it could be possible, but ain't no one doing that. Think about the incentives, Greg. In a capitalistic model, you want users and you want hyper users, which means you have to make a delicious product that feels good. To make a delicious product that feels good, you can't add friction. If your AI was like, hold on a second, Greg, I think I need you to think about this a little bit more before I give you the answer. What the heck? Who would use that product? Again, right? Thinking is to humans as swimming is to cats. Like, who's buying that piece of candy? The candy that says do 10 air squats before you're allowed to open the wrapper versus the one that's like, no, go for it. Have the bag, baby. Have the bag.
Yeah, okay. I do like my delicious products. You're right. What about the kids? Because they like candy. So what are we going to do with our kids?
I think the situation with kids in school is even more dire because they are at a developmental stage where they are actively developing really basic cognitive skills and also developing their ability to socialize and to create dialogue and discourse and debate in a social setting. They're figuring out who they are and how they think in the first place. So the previous point you made, you said, oh, what if AI could actually make us better at even talking to people, right? Because you can't yell at your AI. You got to like actually talk to it. I'll do all the things. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem. Again, the AI companies are not going to build AI tools that disagree with us because again, it's not delicious. That's not good for business if you do that. But if you did, I think it could be actually really great.
So what's your advice to a parent then? I get asked all the time, what about my kids? Will they stop learning? Will they stop thinking? To your point, will they just cognitively offload? But again, the idea of not using AI will disadvantage that kid, I would assume. And parents really want their kids to do well in school and they want them to get into good colleges. And the idea of saying, don't use AI seems like, tying one cognitive hand behind that kid's back. So these kids are going to use AI. What's a couple pieces of advice you can give a parent right now?
Absolutely use AI. Train your kids. And the schools need to be the ones handling this, but they don't have the resources yet to do it. But we need to get them the resources to do it. But we actually need proper training on how to use AI such that you're, again, not overusing it. You're not underusing it. You're using it in an intelligent manner. This is a lot of the stuff that I know, Greg, that you train folks on. It's like, how can you use it so that you can actually leverage it appropriately? So I think we absolutely will be doing a disservice to our kids if we're not training them on how to use AI. But we also ought to be creating the necessary conditions where they are left without AI, with no help, no augmented assistance, and they are actually still forced to learn on their own, to critically think, to debate, to do all the things that we are going to expect them to do on the job and in the real world. So I think you have to create likely no tech, no AI experiences for students in school. And also then, of course, like go ham and go all in with the AI.
So we're talking about like AI-free days or AI-free assignments or AI-free hours. And should knowledge workers be doing this as well? Same advice to the rest of us, meaning like live without AI for a day to make sure your brain turns back on and actually works. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it is what I'm saying. It could be an AI-free day, but here's the thing. I think the critical part here is you got to do the work on that day. So if you have an AI-free day and you're doing nothing but hanging around on the couch, like right. Netflixing, I'm like that. We're not doing the same thing. It's kind of like saying like, listen, is there a day you should take the stairs versus taking the elevator? It's like, sure, yeah, but use the muscle. That's the point. So if you want to make it efficient, actually create necessary conditions where you're reading things, analyzing things, writing things on your own with absolutely no help so that you're not atrophying those muscles and those skills.
So it's basically we need you to find a balance. I mean, it's a tough balance to find, but that's kind of what you're saying, right? That consume the delicious candy, but not too much of it. And each of you will rely on your own judgment about when's too much.
I think we're going to be figuring out what too much looks like in the upcoming few years. I generally lean towards being a bit data driven. I don't want to, go based on my opinion, but Greg, I've got hope. I was actually developing a new class on digital wellness. It's going to be called Mind, Machine, and Meaning, right? And in that class, and it's for undergraduates, I want to tackle this. What are the best ways in which to use AI, and how do humans and technology interact best? And I'm actually allowing undergraduates, again, these are kids between the ages of the ones that are helping me, 19 and 21 years old, develop the actual syllabus that will be taught to their peers at UC Berkeley. And I had one of the kids in this meeting make me feel like an easy professor. And Greg, you know me. Easy is not one of the things I happen to be in the classroom. But I actually had one of the undergraduates say, you need to include a real final exam. You need to test whether or not they actually read, because I'm going to be honest with you, nobody's reading anymore. Nobody's writing anymore. You make this a blue book test, meaning it's paper-based. They actually have to come in, we're passing out paper, and they have to use their hand, no technology, and actually show you that they understood the reading, that they did it, they can critically think, they can analyze it, and they can debate. And I'm like, that's a lot of work. Like people will hate that. The students will hate that.
One of your students was recommending this.
He's saying, bring it on. That's what you have to make us do. If you don't force us to do it, we will not do it. But he's already seeing in his own peers, like in his own classes, he's like, my friends aren't reading anymore. No one's doing the reading. We're just throwing it in AI and be like, give me a quick summary. And then you take the summary and then you put the summary back into AI and you're like, regurgitate an essay for me. No one's doing anything.
Well, he's the outlier. The rest of the class, the rest of the 49 are like, screw it. We just want the fastest way through to get the credits, right?
Totally. But it is the few that create the systems that everyone else lives in.
I like that. We will create the systems, the frameworks, expectations, I guess, as leaders, as policymakers, maybe not policymakers. They seem to be always about a decade behind us. But the AI companies aren't going to create these frameworks, right, to save us. They have no incentive to. They're going to addict us.
No, it's not going to happen. You can't use an AI company's best practices for what's going to be best.
I got a couple other questions for you. In the last couple of years, two things have become part of my life, which have been amazing, and I think if overused, are going to be a problem. One is psychedelics and one is AI. I'm 64. I type with two fingers, and I now use AI every day, and I don't use psychedelics every day, but these are two new parts of my life that I love, and I clearly need to manage for my own sort of cognitive and emotional health. But my life is better for psychedelics and AI, so I'm happy about it. But Sahar, I'm worried about the delicious, hard to resist candy for the rest of us.
Good news is that psychedelics in general do show very little addictive tendencies for folks. Whereas, some substances like, for example, alcohol is highly addictive. Traditional psychedelics don't show nearly the same levels of addiction, which is a really, really, that's optimistic and really phenomenal news.
And what about AI?
AI is already showing a lot of addictive potential. But a lot of that is, again, it's by design because they're designing it to be so delicious. It's people pleasing. It's natural for human beings to want to take shortcuts and want to offload. So when you give us unbridled opportunity to do that, like we're going to take it. We're going to take it. Whereas I'll be honest with you, Greg, psychedelics are not necessarily easy to integrate in a busy life. Like, I don't think folks are casually taking a hero dose of psilocybin and then carrying on going to Trader Joe's to grocery shop for dinner. Right. It's not happening. So right. I'm less concerned with, psychedelics, like taking the world by storm and everyone, melting into the couch.
All right. I feel good about at least one of the new things I've added to my life. I'm good with psychedelics and AI, I better manage. Use it a lot, but not too much, which I do think is a tough balance, right, to find. So what's our advice to help people find that balance? What can we do very tactically so we don't lose our minds?
Right now, based on the data and the information and the experiences I have available to me, the best advice is every day, force yourself to cognitively take the stairs at least a couple times. Don't do it when you're late for a meeting. Do you know what I mean? Like, use your best judgment here. Like, I get it. Like, you need to get an answer fast, and it's a low risk. Like, for the drudge work, as you said, go for it, right? You want a cognitive sparring partner for the really high value tasks. I say also huge unlock, go for it. But at some point, go to the gym, right? And use your best judgment. And I think the messy middle tasks are the ones that are best suited for that. This is my humble opinion now.
I used to say for the first 18 months of AI, I was saying use AI for your first draft. Like the whole idea of the blank page struggle, like don't struggle, go right away to AI and kind of get your V1 from AI. I think, influenced by you in this, have changed my mind here. And I think that it's best to struggle a little bit with your V1 without the AI and get some thoughts, right? Get some ideas, get something down on paper, so to speak. That gets you started, and then go to AI and see if you can, make faster progress. Is that one way to think about it? Like, don't rely on AI for your V1, but even if it's crap, do your own V1 yourself.
Absolutely. This is actually something that we are doing research on at UC Berkeley, right? And my hypothesis is that utilizing AI in what we are currently calling a TRV cycle: think, refine, validate. Okay. You have to actually go through the thinking on your own first. That's where you're doing the actual lifting. That's where you're doing the cognitive lifting. Do that first, then throw it into AI. So I couldn't agree with you more, Greg. I think we have to force ourselves to do a lot of the thinking up front, and then use AI as a sparring partner. Allow it to help you think better, point out your blind spots, help it, have it red team with you. I used to wrestle. So I have a generally.
You used to wrestle. You're like,
yeah.
You're like 5'2" and you weigh 100 pounds and you used to wrestle. Okay. Are you?
Hey,
No,
lean mean fighting machine. But I have a natural tendency to using sort of like mildly violent, like fight language and like war language. But I actually ask my AI to fight me. So I'll come up with an idea, but like, this is what I think. Fight me. Use everything you got, ChatGPT. Come at me. Fight me. I dare you. And I think that's one of the best unlocks that AI can give us, is actually to ask it to disagree with us so that we can actually get a better, refined end product.
You're saying is resist the delicious cognitive sugar of AI for that first phase, right? T, think yourself, refine with AI, and then verify, of course, as a human again. But that's the current framework we should be using AI with. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Eat your broccoli first.
Sahar, thanks for joining us today on AI Truth Serum and helping us get to the truth of cognitive offloading and the risk of losing our minds, which seems like it's a pretty high risk. And so appreciate teaching us about this and the work you're doing to make sure that we all don't lose our minds. And I look forward to seeing you on Sunday for dinner and maybe some psychedelics. I don't know. All right, here's my take on this. This is going to be really fucking hard. We're going to have to use AI to enhance ourselves cognitively without using it too much. Sahar proposed a good framework. TRV, think, refine, verify. Think first, human only. Refine with AI, and then verify as the human, and then move on to the next task. These AIs are programmed to please us, to assist us, to help us cut corners, to make us more productive, but also more addicted. That's our show for today. I hope you now understand how to manage your cognition in the age of AI. Next episode, I'll be talking to Juliet Balin, a brilliant young AI investor, about where the money is going to be made in AI. In the meantime, you can find me at gregshove.com, and don't forget to sign up for my newsletter, also called AI Truth Serum. And if you've got a second right now, leave us a rating or review. It'll be a big help to us, help people find this show, and my kids will appreciate it. See you next time, guys.